It is Wednesday, March 19th, and the FBI revealing a large-scale, well-funded plot to destroy Elon Musk, which the left is now completely on board with, claiming to be furious at Elon, furious at the man who found the waste, fraud, and abuse in federal government instead of the people who were caught perpetuating it. Ironic, right? We're going to show you what FBI and DOJ have told us over the last few hours about what they've found out about this so far. Also, the JFK files have been released, published. Out of the 80,000 or so documents, there appear to be a handful that confirm some of these long-held theories about what may have happened. We're going to show you and why corporate media is now spinning this all as conspiracy. After all this time, with all this smoke that's pointing to something, you got to see this segment that they did last night. It's unbelievable, really infuriating, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So in June 2024, June of last year, 2 American astronauts arrived to the ISS, the International Space Station, for what was planned to be an 8-day mission, a test flight, to observe the performance of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. They launched on June 5th, 2024, arrived to the ISS 1 day later on June 6th, again, prepared to stay for only 8 days. Well, those 2 astronauts, American astronauts, were stranded up there in space for more than 9 months. They left in June of last year. Then 3 months later, Elon Musk offered SpaceX's Dragon capsule to pick them up, a rescue mission. But the Biden administration refused, telling SpaceX that they've discussed it, but they decided to wait for Boeing to fix the problems. Elon telling the story last night in this interview on Fox that he personally offered the Biden White House a rescue mission months ago, but they blew him off. The Biden administration didn't want to give him the good press coverage that would come with the rescue mission. Unbelievable. Watch.
I'm only going to ask you one political question, just for clarification purposes only. I don't think this should really be a political night. I think this is,
right,
a moment where the country should celebrate the fact that you were able to rescue them, that it happened successfully in spite of the difficulty, the challenges, and the danger. But I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts sooner to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I heard somebody earlier today say, in fact, that didn't happen, when I believe it did.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Well, yesterday, these 2 American astronauts finally were brought home, not by Boeing, not by Joe Biden, but by Elon Musk's SpaceX. This is the incredible footage of them splashing down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, in the Gulf of America, circled by dolphins, by the way. Cameras caught this. Check this out.
Free vessel, and that is where our Crew 9 team members will egress from the Dragon spacecraft. Now, here on your screen, we can see dolphins, actually, who want to come and play with Dragon.
Meanwhile, back on planet Earth, the Democrat Party is on a full-fledged seek and destroy mission. Ruin Elon Musk by any means necessary. The man who just rescued our astronauts from space. There have been dozens now of politically motivated attacks against Tesla property, including arson, graffiti, firebombing Tesla dealerships in cities like Seattle, Vegas, Portland, and Boston on Friday. Striking again, this time firebombing a Tesla charging station in South Carolina, igniting multiple vehicles. And get this, the left-wing extremist who carried this out accidentally caught himself on fire. This guy, Daniel Clark Pounder, 24 years old, burned down 3 EV chargers and where he scrawled F Trump and long live Ukraine, according to federal prosecutors. The latest attack, though, happening yesterday in Las Vegas, Tuesday morning, where a Tesla service station was firebombed and vandalized. Here's footage released by police from the scene. Look at this carnage. The suspect spray painting the words resist across vehicles and on the Tesla building. The FBI has now joined the manhunt looking for who's doing these, but also they say they want to find who's funding and coordinating these attacks. Watch.
This morning, the FBI is investigating after several Tesla vehicles were shot at and set on fire in Las Vegas. Attorney General Pam Bondi calls the attacks nothing short of domestic terrorism. There have been attacks on Elon Musk's Tesla dealerships across the country. President Trump makes clear who he blames.
Do you consider this an act of domestic terrorism?
I think so.
Why?
I think that if and when they catch the people, and I hope they do, the good thing is they have a lot of cameras in those places, and they've caught some already having to do with that. I think that you will find out that they're paid by people that are very highly political on the left.
All right, he didn't provide any evidence of that. Let's get right to CNN's Josh Campbell for the latest.
The FBI and local police are investigating yet another act of vandalism at a Tesla facility, this time in Las Vegas. Police responded to 911 calls early Tuesday morning reporting gunshots and flames at the Tesla repair center. Upon arrival, they found multiple cars set on fire.
This was a targeted attack against a Tesla facility. We believe the suspect approached the business wearing all black clothing, and he used what appear to be Molotov cocktails and a firearm to conduct his attack.
Authorities say the word resist was spray painted on the building.
We do not believe that there's any further threat to the general public. However, as a precaution, like we do on many of these types of incidents, we've increased our police presence, in particular at Tesla locations.
While police say they believe this was an isolated incident, it does follow multiple other acts of vandalism at Tesla dealers, including places like Kansas City, Missouri, the Chicago area, and Southern California. Tesla founder Elon Musk took to X, calling this an act of terrorism. Now, authorities say multiple personnel from the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force are conducting an investigation in order to identify the suspect and a motive.
AG Pam Bondi saying last night the swarm of violent attacks on Tesla property is nothing short of domestic terror. The DOJ has already charged several people with that in mind, including cases that involve charges with 5-year mandatory minimum sentences. And look, this is a terrible look for the Democrat Party. Think about this for a minute. The whole world can see Democrats are so angry with Elon Musk's Doge effort to find and cut waste, fraud, and corruption in federal government, but could care less about the people who were caught perpetuating the waste and defrauding the American government and the taxpayers' money. Americans don't like political violence. It's never acceptable, and it shows how cornered and desperate Democrats are. Even late-night hosts are now openly encouraging this behavior.
And he fired them immediately upon landing. Tesla stock is way down, almost disastrously so. People have been vandalizing Tesla vehicles, new Tesla vehicles. Please don't vandalize, don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so...
Positive time, Jimmy.
Yeah, it really is.
Billionaires are not happy having $1 billion. Why does Elon Musk dress like he just... All right, thank you. Oh, my God. Why does Elon Musk dress like he just got out of a Hot Topic? I am so sick of that guy trying to rewrite his origin story like he was Matthew McConaughey pulling into the high school. It's like you were a nerd, nobody banged you, and now you have hair plugs in your laminated face. No, and everybody is afraid of these nerds. I don't get it. My whole life, feminists were focusing on frat boys and guys with their hats on backwards, and they left the nerds alone. And now look at them.
In another story, yesterday, as promised, President Trump releasing 80,000 previously redacted or classified JFK files. All 80,000 have been declassified, but they held back around 20% of the remaining documents. So 20% of what was classified before yesterday is still classified, still in the vault at CIA. And so far, what we've seen of these 80,000 files only the first tranche of which has actually been digitized and available for public viewing so far. In them, though, a few appear to stand out as interesting. Nothing completely new, but a few documents that confirm theories that have been floated for years. One of the documents, a 1964 file from the Italian Communist Party that references rumors that the agency, quote unquote, allegedly orchestrated President Kennedy's assassination. The agency meaning CIA. Another one that I find interesting is a memo about what happened to John Garrett Underhill. This file, it's brand new to us. We've never seen it, but if you followed the JFK case, you've heard Underhill's name mentioned for years. The file says, the day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country, he said. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it self-inflicted. That's what the document says. Now, again, we knew about this generally. The public knew about Underhill. JFK historians have talked about him, about how suspicious his death was for years, but the fact that CIA released an internal memo about it at the time, and even they investigated it as suspicious, the nature of his death being highly suspicious, again, confirms all these theories. I mean, there is smoke there. Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who's the chairwoman of the Task Force on Declassification and is fighting for transparency. Luna is one of the good ones. She is fighting to get this information out. Not just this, but on the UAP topic, on all of these documents that the American people are demanding to see, fighting to make sure Trump lives up to the promise of being the disclosure president. Posted an update about the release saying, the file I am particularly interested in is a CIA IG report from whistleblowers alleging that the CIA hid information from Congress regarding JFK's assassination as it implicated them. She said, shortly after the assassination, we were given this as a tip, and there is actually a document, we are told, and that we're currently tracking down. Then, last night in an interview, she says she's now working with CIA Director John Ratcliffe to get this specific file that she just mentioned, plus 19 others, which she was also tipped off about, which again, were not, I repeat, not in this 80,000 document dump yesterday. Watch this.
We've been working with some incredible researchers and JFK historians, essentially, that are looking for 20 documents specifically. I've requested those 20 documents specifically from the CIA director, and our team of investigators at Oversight are waiting for basically those documents to go live on the archive.
And from what I understand, John Ratcliffe, CIA director, he's been instrumental in this. He wants this information out. He wants more transparency. And you may think that's crazy, but apparently it's true. And remember why these documents were held back in the first place. Trump wanted these files released during his first term, but his first CIA director, very different from John Ratcliffe, Mike Pompeo, convinced him to hold them back. Remember this?
To keep the JFK files secret.
Because I was trying to keep Americans safe. And by the way, don't paint with too broad a brush. 99.6% of the JFK files are public today.
But it was 60 years ago.
John, not everything was 60 years ago. And I don't want to spend a lot of time walking through this, but suffice it to say, the definition of a document covered by this statute that you're referring to, it's a little bit wonky, but suffice it to say, if Congress holds a hearing tomorrow on the Kennedy assassination, the documents generated tomorrow will be part of those files. Those would be tomorrow, they'd be 60 seconds old, not 60 years old. And last thing I'll say is there are things that happened 60 years ago that are still important to keep in the vault. There are lots of things that happened that long ago that still are appropriate not to release. Think of names and addresses and families.
When I was a cadet, what's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
Meanwhile, corporate media is spinning all of this as conspiracy. CNN doing a segment lumping JFK's assassination in with other silly conspiracies, trying to muddy the waters. You gotta watch this clip from last night, them lumping it in with people who think the Earth isn't round. They do this purposely. Watch.
Look, I'll tell you something you don't know, Aaron Burnett, and it is basically this. The percentage of conspiracy theorists who believe that the United States government was involved in the JFK assassination has gone up over the past 10 years. It is now the plurality leader compared to the conspiracy theorists. They used to think it was someone, hey, maybe it was Cuba, maybe it was the mob. That's actually down from 40% to 29%. And the overall number of folks who believe in the conspiracy theory that JFK was killed by more than one man is also up.
So in this thing of we are in this odd conspiracy-fueled moment, I guess that fits, right? That more people believe it. All right, Trump himself has talked about conspiracies about this death, including one linking Oswald famously to Ted Cruz's father. Okay,
I remember that one.
Yeah.
His father was with Lee Harvey Oswald prior to Oswald's being shot. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, what was he doing with Lee Harvey Oswald shortly before the death, before the shooting? It's horrible.
Okay, that theory, I just want to note, was based on a National Enquirer story that the former publisher testified during Trump's trial last spring was made up. But Trump is not just speaking for himself.
No, he's not. I feel like Regis Philbin. It's all bonkers things that are going on. Look, the percentage of Republicans who believe in the conspiracy theory that JFK was killed by more than one man is up significantly over the last decade. Look at that. From 49% to now with a clear majority, 71%, while Democrats have fallen from 64% to 55%. And that is because the Donald Trump base, right, the non-college graduates, they are the most likely to believe in the conspiracy theory, right? 73% of them compared to just 57% of those who just have a college degree and 44% postgraduate degree.
And this isn't there are more conspiracy theories, as we were talking about. People believe them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we mentioned the JFK one, but how about Obama not born in the U.S., a quarter of Americans? How about vaccines cause autism? That's up. That's nearly a quarter of Americans. And then you get 10% of Americans who believe the earth is flat. It's crazy.
Two of them are here.
I don't even know what to say, but the numbers are the numbers.
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.